video, we take a closer look at the movie Transformer Dark of the Moon. We will explore the film storyline, provide a clear summary of the plot, and take a look at the main cast and the characters. In addition, we will discuss the movie production details and examine its box office performance. Finally, we will share reviews and our personal reaction to the film. So, let's get started. When we start talking about big blockbuster action film of the 2010, one movie that often entered the conversation is Transformer Dark of the Moon, directed by explosive and visually ambitious filmmaker Michael Bay. This film represents a very specific style of the modern blockbuster filmmaking, one built around spectral scale and cutting edge visual effects. Before dividing into the plot or the character, it's worth taking a moment to discuss why this movie deserves attention and discussion in the first place. First, let's consider the genre. Transformer Dark of the Moon firmly belong to the science fiction action genre. It blends several different cinematic elements. On the surface, it is a giant robot battle film filled with explosion and intense action sequence. However, underneath that spectre lies a concept that mixes science fiction with historical imagination, particularly through its connection to the real world space race. The film suggests that events like Apollo 11 moon landing were partially motivated by the discovery of alien technology on the moon. This creative twist immediately gives the movie a fascinating what if scenario, which is one of the most classic appeal of science fiction storytelling. Another important reason to discuss this movie is the directorial style of the Michael Bay. Bay is known for highly recognizable filmmaking approach, fast-pacing, dramatic camera angles, slow-motion hero shots, and large-scale action sequence. His film often emphasize visual energy and sensory impact. The movie Bay pushes these techniques even further. The camera constantly moves. The action sequences are designed to overwhelm the viewers with intensity, and the sound design make every explosion and the robot transformation feel massive. Whether people love or criticize his style, Bay approach has undeniably shaped modern blockbuster cinema. In fact, this movie is a perfect example of what some critics call Bayhem. That term refer to the chaotic yet carefully choreographed style that Michael Bay brings to action scenes. Instead of simple fight sequence, Bay create entire urban war zone filled with collapsing building, aerial combat, and massive robotic clashes. The final act of the film, set in a devastated city, demonstrates this production philosophy at its peak. The scale of destruction and movement on screen show just how ambitious the production was. Speaking of production, the technical side of the film is also worth discussing. It was one of the early blockbusters to heavily use IMAX camera for major action scenes. This choice allowed the filmmaker to capture extremely detailed and large-scale visual. The result is a film that feels huge in scope. The robots themselves, like Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, are rendered with complex CGI that blends with real environments. When these giant machines move through cities, the effect aimed to make appear physically present in the real world. Another interesting aspect is how the movie mixes human character with massive science fiction element. The story continues to follow Sam Witwicky, played by Shia Labeouf, who represent the human perspective in a conflict between powerful alien factions, while the robots carry the larger mythological stories. Sam's character ground the narratives in everyday human concern, finding a job, maintaining relationship, and trying to prove his value in a world where giant alien robots dominate the battlefield. Finally, the movie is worth discussing because it represents a key moment in the evolution of modern franchise filmmaking. By the time this movie was released, the Transformers series has already become one of the biggest action franchise in Hollywood. This third installment raised the stake with a bigger story, larger battle, and a global scale. The film demonstrated how studios were beginning to treat blockbuster movies not just as standalone stories but as major cinematic event designed to attract worldwide audience. So before we even analyze the story or character in detail, it is clear that The film offered plenty to talk about, from its science fiction concept and high energy direction to its massive production scale. It stands as a strong example of how modern action cinema combines technology, spectacle, and franchise storytelling to create a truly largely scale movie experience. The production budget of the film was estimated at approximately $195 million, placing it firmly with the category of large scale Hollywood blockbuster production. By the time the film entered the production, the Transformers franchise had already demonstrated strong commercial success, which gave the studio confidence to invest heavily in the third installment. Such a budget reflecting the growing expectation in the early 2010 that major action franchise needed to deliver increasingly spectacular visuals, larger set pieces, and more advanced special effects in order to compete in the global box office market. A significant portion of the film budget was dedicated to visual effects and computer generated imagery. The Transformer characters themselves are highly complex digital creation made up of thousands of moving mechanical parts. Every transformation sequence and battle scenes require detailed animation, advanced rendering, and precise integration with live action footage. Visual effect companies spent extensive time designing and refining these elements to ensure that the robots appear physically believable with real world environment. Because the story involved multiple large scale battle, urban destruction, and mechanical transformation, the cost of visual effect represented one of the largest resource allocation within the overall production budget. Another important area of spending involved action sequence and practical production element. The director is known for creating large-scale action scenes using a mix of digital effects and real-world stunts. For this film, the production team filmed on location in several major cities and used elaborate stunt coordination, control explosion, and large mechanical rigs to create realistic action environment. One of the most notable sequences take place during a massive battle in Chicago, which required extensive planning, street closures, and cooperation with local authorities. These large-scale location shoots added to the overall cost but contributed to the film's sense of realism and scale. The film also invested heavily in advanced camera technology. It was one of the early blockbusters to incorporate extensive IMAX camera uses for key action sequences. IMAX cameras are larger and more expensive to operate than traditional film cameras, and their use often required specialized new members and additional production logistics. However, the decision to use this technology allowed the filmmaker to capture extremely high resolution visuals and create a more immersive cinematic experience, especially for viewers watching the movie on large format screen. Cast salaries and production of crew cost represent another important portion of the budget. Although the movie relied heavily on digital characters, it still required a strong human cast and technical team. Hundreds of professionals, including stunt performers, set designer, camera operator, editor, and visual effect artists, worked together throughout the production and post-production process. Contributing such large workforce over many months naturally contributed to the high financial investment. When compared to the other film released around the same period, the production budget of the film was consistent with major franchise film of the era. For example, large action and franchise films often had budget ranging between $150 million and $250 million. Previous entries in the Transformers series had similar production costs, reflecting the franchise's reliance on large-scale action and visual effects. Compared with many superhero films of the time, the budget was also comparable, indicating that studios were willing to invest heavily in properties that had proven global appeal. Overall, the budget of the film illustrates how modern blockbuster filmmaking required a careful balance between financial investment and technological ambition. Large-scale visual effects, complex action sequences, and advanced filming techniques are contributed to the film cost. However, these elements were also central to delivering the type of spectacle that audience expected from major installment in the Transformer franchise. It belonged primarily to the science fiction action genre, but it also incorporated elements of adventure, disaster, spectacle, and military drama. These genre components work together to create a movie experience that focuses on scale, intensity, and constant movement. The film built its identity around the idea of a massive conflict between alien robotic factions while placing human character in the middle of the event that are far beyond ordinary outstanding. Because of this mixture, the genre feel both futuristic and grounded in recognizable human environment. The science fiction aspect of the movie comes mainly from the presence of the Transformers themselves, advanced alien machines capable of transforming into vehicles and interacting with modern technology. Their existence introduced themes about extraterrestrial intelligence, advanced technology, and interplanetary history. The film also uses a spectacular concept connected to the real world event, suggesting that the discovery of the alien technology may have played a role in humanity race to reach the moon. This blending of fictional alien history with real historical moment help establish a science fiction atmosphere that feel both imaginative and connected to reality. At the same time, the movie strongly emphasizes action at its central genre. The placing is designed to keep the audience constantly engaged with movement, danger, and large scale conflict. Instead of focusing heavily on quiet character development, the narrative frequently transitions between scenes of tension, explosion, and combat. Battles between Autobots and Decepticons dominate the screen, often unfolding across city streets, highways, and towering skyscrapers. These sequences are structured to escalate, gradually building toward a prolonged and destructive final act that transforms an entire city into a battlefield. The atmosphere of the film is intense and often overwhelming by design. Much of the visual storytelling focuses on scale. Giant robots move through human spaces, building collapses during battle, and military force struggle to respond to threats that seem unstoppable. The sense of danger is amplified by the way the film portrays the conflict as something that could threaten the survival of humanity itself. The atmosphere frequently shifts between moments of suspense and sudden bursts of chaos, which create a dynamic viewing experience. Another defining aspect of the film's mood is its high energy pacing. The story relies stay in one emotional state for very long. Scenes that focuses on character interaction are visually brief and quickly transition into action-driven moments. This pacing style reflects the filmmaking approach often associated with director Michael Bay, who is known for creating visually intense action films that prioritize momentum and spectacle. The camera movement, editing, speed, and sound design all contribute to a sense that the movie is constantly pushing forward. The tone of the movie mixes seriousness with occasional humor. On one hand, the story deals with themes of betrayal, survival, and large-scale destruction. Certain characters face difficult decisions, and the stakes become increasingly severe as the conflict escalates. On the other hand, the film includes comedic moments, usually through the behavior of human character reacting to extraordinary situations. These lighter scenes help provide brief emotional breaks between the intense action sequence. Stylistically, the films emphasize visual spectacle, bright explosion, fast-moving camera angles, and highly detailed mechanical design give the movie a distinctive visual identity. The Transformers themselves are designed with complex moving parts that make every transformation feel elaborate and mechanical. These stylistic choices reinforce the film's futuristic atmosphere while also highlighting the technological ambition behind its production. Overall, the genre and the mood of the film combine to create a cinematic experience focused on intensity and spectacle. The science fiction foundation introduces imaginative ideas about alien technology and hidden history, while the action-driven structure keep the pacing fast and energetic. The result is a film that aims to immerse the audience in a large-scale conflict where the atmosphere, tone, and visual style all are designed to deliver a powerful sense of excitement and dramatic scale. Before watching the film, audience often approach the film within a set of clear expectations shaped by the reputation of the Transformation Farmer franchise and the style of its previous installment. By the time this third film was released, viewers were already familiar with the series' emphasis on large-scale action, advanced visual effects, and the continuing conflict between Autobots and Decepticons. These expectations influence how different group of viewers are prepare themselves for the experience of watching the movie. One important factor shaping audience expectation is viewers' demographic. The Transformer franchise traditionally appealed to a wide age range, but it is specifically popular among teenagers and young adults who enjoy high energy action films. Many viewers in these demographics are attracted to movies that feature fast pacing, intense battles, and visually impressive effects. At the same time, the franchise also connects with older audience who grew up with the original Transformer cartoons and toys from earlier decades. For these viewers, watching the films can carry a sense of nostalgia as they recognize familiar characters such as Optimus Prime and Bumblebee appearing in a modern cinematic form. Another group of viewers includes general blockbuster audience who may not be dedicated fan of the Transformer universe but still enjoy large-scale Hollywood entertainment. For these viewers, the expectation is not necessarily focused on deep storytelling or complex character development. Instead, they anticipate a visually exciting movie that offers thrilling action sequence, dramatic confrontation, and a spectacle design for the big screen. In this sense, the film functions as an event movie. Sometimes people watch primarily for excitement and visual effect. Anticipated themes also shape the expectation audience bring to the film. Even before watching, viewers often assume that the story will explore themes such as loyalty, heroism, betrayal, and the struggle between good and evil. These themes are common in science fiction and modern action franchise, and they are especially central to the Transformers storyline. The Autobots are typically portrayed as protector of humanity, while the Decepticons represent a destructive force seeking power and domination. Because of this established narrative pattern, audience expect the movie to present a clear moral conflict where the heroes must defend Earth against a powerful threat. Another anticipated theme involved the relationship between humans and advanced technology. The Transformers themselves represent highly sophisticated machines capable of independent thought and emotions. As a result, viewers often expect the film to explore how humanity interact with this technology and how ordinary people become involved in extraordinary conflict. The presence of human character within a war between alien machine create a contrast that audience find engaging. It allows viewers to imagine how they might react if they confronted with similar circumstances. Fan of the science fiction genre also bring specific expectation regarding world building and imaginative concepts. Science fiction audience often look for creative ideas about alien civilization, futuristic technology, and hidden histories that reshape our understanding of the world. In this film, the concept that the space race and the moon landing might be connected to alien discoveries is a premise that many science fiction fans find intriguing. Such ideas create anticipation that the story will combine real historical element with speculative storytelling. Genre fan of action cinema have their own expectations as well. Many viewers anticipate large scale battle scenes, dramatic confrontation, and a steady progression toward a climatic final conflict. The Transformer franchise has built a reputation for delivering elaborate action sequences involving military forces, aerial combat, and massive destruction. As a result, fans expect the third installment to raise the stake even higher than previous film. These expectations include large battle, more powerful enemies, and the storyline that threaten the safety of the entire planet. Visual effects also play a major role in shaping audience anticipation. By the time this movie was released, viewers were already aware that the Transformers series rely heavily on advanced computer generated imagery. Many people expected to see even more detailed robot design, more complex transformation sequence, and large environments where these battles could take place. For some audience, the visual spectacle itself is one of the primary reasons for watching the movie. Finally, the audience often expect the film to maintain the energetic pacing and dramatic style associated with the series. Previous installments establish a formula that blend intense action with moment of humor and human interaction. Viewers therefore anticipate a movie that moves quickly from one scene to another, balancing character movements with explosive set pieces. Overall audience expectations for the film are shaped by the film's franchise history, the preferences of different viewers' demographic, and the convention of the science fiction action genre. Many viewers approach the movie expecting a combination of large-scale spectacle, familiar heroic themes, imaginative science fiction ideas, and fast-paced entertainment. These expectations play a significant role in how audience experience the film once the story being to unfold. It is designed as a large-scale blockbuster aimed at a broad global audience, but certain group of viewers are more clearly positioned as the primary target. Film style, pacing, and subject matter indicate that it was created mainly for audience who enjoy fast-paced entertainment, a large action spectacle, and science fiction concept involving advanced technology and aliens life. By examining the intended age group, viewer interest and genre preferences, it becomes easier to understand what type of audience the film is trying to attract. One of the most important target group is teenager and young adults. Viewers roughly between the age of 13 and 30 are often the core audience for high budget action film. This age group tend to respond strongly to movies that deliver excitement, visual intensity, and constant movement. The film's giant robot battles, dramatic explosion, and large-scale destruction scenes are specifically designed to appeal to this demographic. Teenagers, in particular, are drawn to stories where heroes face overwhelming threats and must rely on courage, teamwork, and determination to overcome powerful enemies. At the same time, movies also target adult viewers who grew up with the Transformer franchise in earlier decades. The original animated series and Twilight became extremely popular during the 1990s and early 1990s. Many of the people who were fans during that time are now adults who feel nostalgic about the character and fictional world. For them, watching the films provide an opportunity to revisit familiar heroes and villains in a modern cinematic format. Seeing classic characters like the noble Autobot leader and his loyal robotic aliens presenting with advanced visual effect can be appealing to viewers who remember the franchise from childhood. Another important audience group include fans of the science fiction genre. These viewers are typically interested in imaginative ideas about alien civilization, futuristic technology, and the relationship between human and machine. The Transformers themselves represent a concept that blends mechanical design with personality and intelligence. Their ability to transform into vehicles and interact with modern technology make them a unique presence within the science fiction genre. Fans who enjoy stories about extraterrestrial life, interplanetary conflict, and advanced technology are likely to find the premise of the movies engaging. In addition to science fiction enthusiasts, the film also targets viewers who prefer action-oriented storytelling. Action movie fans usually look for high-stake, intense confrontation and visually impressive sequences that keep the story moving forward. The narrative structure of the movie is designed around escalating conflict between two opposing robotic factions. Battles become progressively larger and more destructive as the story develops, eventually leading to a massive final confrontation. This style of storytelling is very appealing to audiences who enjoy adrenaline-driven entertainment and cinematic spectacle. The movie is also aimed at viewers who appreciate blockbuster cinema as a social experience. Many people enjoy watching large action film in theater because of the immersive sound, large screen, and sheer excitement among the audience. The dramatic visual and explosive action sequences are particularly effective in this environment because of the film is positioned as an event movie, something people watch not only for the story but also for the sensory experience of seeing massive battles and large scale effects on the big screen. Another group with the target audience include viewers who enjoy stories about heroism and loyalty. The narrative centers on a group of heroic robots who choose to protect humanity despite the dangers they face. Themes of courage, sacrifice, and teamwork are woven into the action sequence and character interaction. These elements can resonate with viewers who enjoy stories where heroes stand against powerful threats and defend others from harm. The film may also appeal to casual viewers who simply want an entertaining movie that does not require extensive knowledge of complex storyline. Although it is the part of a larger franchise, the movie focuses heavily on action and visual storytelling, making it relatively accessible even if to viewers who may not have seen every previous installment. This accessibility broadens the potential audience and allows the film to reach people who are mainly looking for exciting entertainment. However, the film may be less appealing to viewers who prefer slower, character-driven dramas or stories that focus heavily on emotional depth and subtitle theme. Because the movie prioritizes spectacle and action, its storytelling approach emphasizes momentum and visual impact rather than quiet interception. Overall, the film is made primarily for viewers who enjoy science fiction action films filled with large battle, futuristic technology, and heroic conflict. Teenager, young adult, long-time fan of the franchise, and audience who appreciate big budget blockbuster entertainment are the group most likely to find the movie engaging and satisfying. The emotional experience promised by the film is built around excitement, tension, large scale spectacle. The movie is designed to take viewers on an intense and fast paced journey where the stakes feel enormous and the conflict appear capable of affecting the entire world. Rather than focusing primarily on quiet emotional reflection, the film aimed to create an atmosphere filled with urgency, danger, and moment of triumph. Through its mood, theme, and storytelling approach, the movie offers an emotional experience centered on thrill and dramatic impact. One of the most noticeable aspects of the film's emotional atmosphere is its sense of scale and intensity. From the beginning, the story suggests that humanity is caught in a conflict between powerful alien forces. This idea creates a mood of suspense and anticipation. Viewers are meant to feel that something large and dangerous is unfolding behind the scenes. As the narrative develops, this feeling grows stronger, especially when the threat posed by the opposing robotic faction becomes more visible. The movie uses this growing tension to keep audience emotionally engaged, encouraging them to wonder how the conflict will ultimately be resolved. Another important emotional element is the theme of heroism. The story represents characters who are willing to fight for the survival of others even when the odds appear overwhelming. This theme creates moment of inspiration and determination. These heroic robots who choose to defend humanity represent courage and loyalty, and their actions are meant to encourage viewers to emotionally support them. When these characters confront powerful enemies or make sacrifice for the greater good, the audience is invited to feel admiration and excitement. The film also explored the theme of betrayal, which introduced a more serious emotional dimension to the story. At certain point in the narrative, characters discover that someone they trusted may have different intentions they expected. This twist adds emotional complexity to the other straightforward conflict between heroes and the villain. Betrayal can create feeling of shock, disappointment, or even anger in the audience, which make the story more dramatic. By including this element, the movie briefly shifts from pure action toward a more emotionally charged storyline. In addition to tension and drama, the movie includes moments of humor that lighten the overall mood. These scenes usually involve human character reacting to extraordinary situations or interacting awkwardly with the robotic aliens around them. The humor serves as an important emotional purpose because it provides a break from the constant intensity of the action scenes. By inserting comedic moments, the film creates a balance between serious conflict and lighter entertainment, allowing viewer to relax briefly before the next dramatic event occurs. Another important component comes from the theme of survival. Much of the story revolves around the idea that Earth itself could become a battleground between powerful forces when cities are threatened and ordinary people are caught in dangerous situations. The audience experience a sense of urgency. The movie portrays the conflict as something that could determine the future of humanity. This raised the emotional stake and encouraged viewers to feel invested in the outcome of the battle. The film pacing also contribute to the emotional experience because the story moves quickly from one major event to another. Viewers rarely have time to disengage from the action. Each new confrontation increases the intensity of the narrative. The emotional rhythm of the movie is built around this raising tension, culminating in a large final battle that serves as the emotional and visual climax of the story. During this sequence, the audience is meant to feel excitement, suspense, and anticipation as the hero attempt to spot the destructive plan of their enemies. The intended emotional impact of the film is ultimately one of exhilaration and satisfaction after witnessing intense battle and dramatic confrontation. Viewers are expected to feel a sense of relief and triumph when the conflict reaches its resolution. The victory of the heroes reinforced the film's central theme of loyalty, courage, and perseverance. Even though the journey includes moments of danger and uncertainty, the final outcome after the feeling of accomplishment and hope. Overall, the emotional experience promised by the film revolve around excitement, suspense, and heroic determination. The movie aimed to immerse the audience in a high-stake conflict where the fate of the world seemed uncertain. Through its dramatic mood, themes of heroism and betrayal, and fast-paced storytelling, the film delivered an emotional journey designed to keep viewers engaged, energized, and ultimately satisfied by the spectacle and the resolution of the story. At its core, Transformer movie is built around a story concept that explore conflict, loyalty, power, and the consequence of survival choices made in desperate circumstances. While the film presents its narrative through a large action sequence and science fiction spectacle, the deeper idea behind the story revolve around how different groups respond when their survival and identity are threatened. Through its theme, message, and broader story concept, the movie reflects on trust, sacrifice, and the moral complexity of leadership. One of the central themes of the story is the tension between survival and morality. In many stories involving large conflict, characters must choose between protecting their ideals or ensuring their survival at any cost. The narrative explores this tension through characters who represent different philosophies. Some believe survival should come first, even if it means betrayal or manipulation. Others believe that loyalty, honor, and cooperation are more important than voice victory alone. This contrast creates a philosophical conflict that runs beneath the physical battle shown on screen. The story therefore becomes not just a fight between opposing sides, but also a struggle between different ways of thinking about responsibility and leadership. Another important theme is the idea of trust and betrayal. Throughout the narrative, alliance and loyalty play a major role in shaping the direction of event. Characters who were once allies must pursue their own agendas while others remain committed to protecting those who depend on them. This theme highlights how trust can be both powerful and fragile. Trust allows cooperation and unity, but when it is broken, the consequence can be devastating. The emotional weight of the betrayal within the story reinforces the idea that leadership involves difficult decisions that affect not only individuals but entire communities. The film also explores the theme of power and how it can reshape relationship when group gains access to powerful technology or resources. The balance between them can shift dramatically. The story suggests that power itself is neutral, but the way individuals choose to use it determine whether it becomes destructive or protective. Characters who seek control may justify their action by claiming they are acting for the greater good, while others argue that power should only be used to defend and preserve life. This tension between domination and protection form one of the underlying messages of the narrative. Another core idea in the film is the relationship between progress and responsibility. The story takes place in a world where advanced technology exists fear beyond human understanding. This technology represents progress and responsibility, but it also introduces risk and unintended consequence. The presence of powerful machines capable of transforming and frightening reflect humanity long-standing fascination with technology and innovation. At the same time, the story raises question about how societies handle powerful tools once they become available. Progress can open new opportunities, but it can also create situations where ethical decisions become more complicated. The movie also contain a broader theme about the role of cooperation in overcoming large threats. The conflict depicted in the story is too large for any single individual to resolve alone. Success requires teamwork, coordination, and shared purpose. Characters must learn to trust each other and combine their strength in order to confront a powerful enemy. This idea reflects a common narrative message found in many heroic stories that unity and cooperation can overcome even the most overwhelming obstacle. By emphasizing teamwork, the film reinforced the importance of collective action rather than individual dominance. Another abstract concept represented in the story is the idea of belonging and identity. Several characters struggle with question about where they belong and what responsibilities they have toward other. Identities tend not only to origin but also to the personal choices and moral commitment. The story suggests that belonging is not determined slowly by where someone comes from, but also by the values they choose to defend. Characters who omit themselves to protecting others ultimately define their identity through their actions rather than their origins. The message of the film can also be interpreted as a reflection on leadership. Leaders within the story face moment where they must decide whether to follow principles or pursue practical solutions. They may involve sacrifice. Leadership is portrayed as both a burden and a responsibility. The best leaders are not necessarily the most powerful, but the ones who are willing to protect others even when it requires personally. This perspective highlights the idea that true leadership involves integrity, courage, and a willingness to place the welfare of the others above principal gain. Finally, the overall story concept revolves around the idea that the fate of the entire world can depend on the decision made by a few individuals. The narrative suggests that even a conflict involving massive forces and powerful technology, individual choices still matter. Decisions driven by loyalty, courage, or ambition can influence the outcome of the event on a much larger scale. This reinforces the story broader message that responsibility occupies power and that the choice people make define the future they create. In abstract terms, the core idea of the film is a reflection on how societies and individuals respond when faced with overwhelming conflict and the technological power. Through themes of loyalty, betrayal, cooperation, and leadership, the story explores the more challenges that rises when survival and ethics collide. Beneath the spectacle of science and action fiction lies a narrative about values, responsibility, and the enduring importance of trust and unity in time of crisis. The central conflict of the movie revolves around a struggle between opposing vision of survival, relation, leadership, and the future of civilization. At a deeper level, the story is not about the physical confrontation but about the clash of moral belief and strategic priorities. Different groups are driven by distinct goals and their motivation create a tension that grows throughout the narrative. This conflict raises questions about loyalty, responsibility, and the ethical limit of power when survival appears to be at risk. One major aspect of the conflict involves a moral dilemma surrounding survival and sacrifice. In many situations within the story, character must decide whether protecting their own people justifies action that may harm others. This dilemma reflects a classic philosophical question: when resources are limiting or danger is unavoidable, whose survival should be prioritized. Some characters approach this problem with a pragmatic mindset, believing that difficult decisions must be made in order to secure the future of their own group. Others hold a more principled now, arguing that survival achieved through betrayal, exploitation ultimately destroy that every value worth protecting. The tension between these viewpoints forms one of the most core emotional and moral struggle of the film. Another layer of the conflict comes from the challenge of leadership. Leaders with the narrative are placed under immense pressure to make decisions that affect not only individuals but entire communities. Leadership in this context is not portrayed simple authority, rather it is shown as a responsibility filled with uncertainty and risk. A leader must balance loyalty to their people with a broader sense of justice. The challenge raises when these two responsibilities come into conflict. Protecting one group may endanger another, and maintaining peace may require confronting powerful adversaries. These competing pressure create a constant sense of tension as leaders attempt to determine the most ethical and effective course of action. Trust also play a critical role in shaping the central conflict. Cooperation between groups depend heavily on mutual trust, but trust can be fragile when competing interests are involved. The story examines how lines are formed and how they can weaken when hidden agendas or conflicting priorities emerge. When trust being to erode, suspicion grow and cooperation become more difficult. This dynamic create emotional tension because character must decide whether to rely on other or act independently to secure their own goals. The uncertainty surrounding loyalty and intentions become one of the driving forces behind the border conflict. Another important challenge with the narrative involves the use and control of powerful technology, and vast technological capabilities can dramatically shift the balance between opposing forces. While such power can be used to defend and protect, it can also be used to dominate and manipulate. The conflict raised from different beliefs about how this power should be used. Some individuals see technology as a tool for rebuilding and progress, while others see it as a means to gain control or reshape the world building to their own vision. The disagreement introduces a deeper philosophical question about whether technological power should be guided by ethical responsibility or by strategic advantage. The tension within the story also reflects the broader challenge of coexistence when different groups with distant identities and goals must share the same world. Conflict of interest are almost inevitable. Each side believes that its vision for the future is the most justified or necessary. The inability to reconcile these visions creates a situation where compromise becomes increasingly difficult. As position burden and mistrust of the possibility of peaceful resolution and gradually diminishes. This escalating tensions reinforce the idea that conflict often arises not simply from hostility but from incompatible belief about what the future should look like. Another aspect of the central conflict involves personal identity and loyalty. Individual within the story must decide where their true allegiance lie. Loyalty must be tied to heritage, shared experience, or personal conviction. Loyalty, however, situation raises where these loyalties conflict with moral judgment. Character must therefore confront the difficult choice between following tradition and following their consequence. This internal struggle mirrors a larger external conflict, showing how personal decisions can reflect broader philosophical division. The narrative also highlights the psychological pressure created by prolonged conflict. When groups are locked in opposition for extended period, the emotional strain begins to influence how decisions are made. Fear, anger, and desperation can push individuals toward extreme solutions. These emotional responses intensify the tension of the story because they make peaceful compromise even harder to achieve. Instead of careful deliberation, choices may be driven by urgency or frustration, further deepening the divide becoming between opposing sides. Ultimately, the central conflict revolves around the challenge of balancing power with responsibility. Possessing strength or advanced capability create opportunity, but it also create moral obligation. The story repeatedly raises the question of whether those who hold power will use it to protect others or reshape the world around according to their own ambition. This tension between protection and domination define the ethical landscape of the abstract term. The core conflict is a struggle between competitive vision of survival, loyalty, and leadership. Character faces moral dilemmas that test their values, while the pressure of uncertainty forcing them to make choices with fear-reaching consequences. The resulting tension emerges not only from external threats but also from the internal struggles of individuals attempting to reconcile their responsibilities with their belief. Through this layered conflict, the story explores how difficult it can be to maintain integrity and cooperation when the stakes involve the fate of entire civilization. The story explores several important themes that give depth to the action-driven narrative. Beneath the spectral and large-scale conflict, the film examines ethical questions about leadership, loyalty, responsibility, and the consequence of power. These themes shape the emotional arc of the character and also touch on broader cultural ideas about cooperation, survival, and the relationship between technology and safety. One of the most significant themes explored in the theme is the ethical question of survival versus morality. Throughout the story, characters face situations where survival appears to demand difficult or morally questionable decisions. When resources, safety, or the future of a group are threatened, individuals must decide whether protecting their own people justify action that could harm others. This dilemma reflects a long-standing ethical debate in philosophy and storytelling, whether the end can justify the mean. Some characters believe that ensuring the survival of their civilization required pragmatic decisions, even if those decisions involve betrayal and sacrifice. Others argue that survival achieved through unethical action ultimately destroy the value that makes survival meaningful. This tension between practicality and discipline become a recurring theme that shape the story moral landscape. Another major themes involve loyalty and betrayal. Loyalty represents trust, cooperation, and shared purpose. Betrayal represents the breakdown of these bonds. Characters who demonstrate loyalty are portrayed as individuals who place the well-being of others above personal gain. Their emotional arc often involve proving their commitment during moment of crisis. In contrast, act of betrayal reveal the consequence of prioritizing ambition, fear, or self-interest over collective responsibility. The emotional impact of betrayal within the narrative is significant because it's challenging assumption about trust and unity. When loyalty is broken, relationship collapse and alliance shift, creating both emotional tension and narrative complexity. Leadership and responsibility also play an important role in the film's theme. Leaders within the story must make decisions that affect large group of people and often decisions of who often involve significant risk. The film suggests that leadership is not simply about authority or power, but about accountability and sacrifice. True leadership requires the willingness to protect others even when doing so involves personal danger or difficult choices. This theme emphasizes the idea that leaders are judged not only by their success but by the values they uphold when facing diversity. The film also explored the theme of power and how it influences behavior. Power in the story often comes in the form of advanced technology and strategic advantage. The presence of powerful tools raises important about how they should be used and how who should control them. Some characters review power as mean of domination, believing that strength should be used to reshape the world according to their vision. Others believe that power carries a responsibility to protect and preserve life. This conflict between domination and protection reflects a broader ethical decision about how societies handle technological advancement and authority. Another important theme relates to the relationship between humans and technology. The presence of intelligent machines capable of independent thought introduce question about coexistence and mutual dependence. Humans rely on technology to advance their societies, yet they also fear losing control over it. The story reflects this tension by portraying technology as both a tool and potential threat. This theme resonates with real world culture concern about artificial intelligence, automation, and the rapid pace of technological change. It encourages viewers to consider how humanity might respond to the form of technology that possesses their own motivation and identities. The emotional arc of the character also highlights the theme of courage in the face of overwhelming challenges. Characters frequently confront situations where the odds appear impossible. Their willingness to continue fighting despite of uncertainty reflects the broader theme of perseverance. Courage in this context is not portrayed as the absence of fear but as the determination to act despite fear. This theme reinforces the idea that heroism often emerges from ordinary individuals choosing to stand up against powerful threat. Cooperation and unity are also central theme in the story. The conflict presenting in the narrative is too large for any individual to resolve alone. Success requires collaboration between individuals with different skill, perspective, and background. This theme highlight the value of team perspective and background. This theme highlight the value of teamwork and collective effort. By working together, the character can overcome obstacles that would be impossible to face the individual. The emphasis on unity reflects a cultural message that cooperation is essential when confronting large-scale challenge. Another cultural toxic explored in the film is the idea of global responsibility. The story presents threats that extend beyond any single nation or group. When danger affects the entire world, traditional boundaries and deviance become less important. The narrative suggests that global cooperation may be necessary to address problems that affect humanity as a whole. This theme reflects contemporary concern about international collaboration in areas such as security, environmental protection, and technological reflection. Finally, the film explored the theme of identity and belonging. Several characters struggle with question about their place in a world and the responsibilities that come with their identity. Identity is shaped not only by origin but also by choices and action. Characters define themselves through the values they defend and the sacrifice they are willing to make. This theme emphasizes the idea that identity is not fixed about but evolves through moral discussions and personal growth. Together, these themes create a layered narrative that goes beyond simple action and spectacle. By examining ethical question, emotional journey, and culture ideas about spectacle by technology and cooperation. The film invites viewer to reflect on the responsibility that come with power and the importance of loyalty, courage, and unity in time of crisis. The exploration of these themes add depth to the story and help transform the conflict into a broader reflection on leadership, morality, and the future of societies facing rapid technological change. The emotional connection between a story and its audience often depend on how effectively the narrative builds mood, explore meaningful theme, and create experience that viewers can relate to. In the case of this film, the emotional engagement does not rely solely on dialogue or quiet character movement. Instead, it is created through a combination of atmosphere, dramatic tension, heroic struggle, and the sense that the stake of the conflict extend far beyond individual character. By combining spectacle with themes of loyalty, courage, and survival, the story invite viewer to become emotionally invested in the outcome of the conflict. One of the primary way the story connect with viewer is its intense and suspenseful mood. From the beginning, the atmosphere suggests that something powerful and dangerous is unfolding behind the scenes. This sense of uncertainty draws viewers into the narrative because it creates curiosity and anticipation. Audience naturally becomes emotionally engaged when they feel that the situation is unpredictable or when they sense that the future of the character is uncertain. The mood of tension encourages viewers to keep watching in order to see how the situation will develop and whether the heroes will be able to overcome the growing threat. The film also built emotional engagement by presenting a struggle between good and evil that is easy for viewers to understand. Stories that involve clear moral contrast often allow audience to quickly form emotional alliance with certain characters. When viewer recognize them which side represent protection and cooperation and which side represent domination or destruction, they begin to support the character who embody the value they admire. This emotional alignment allow the audience to feel excitement and satisfaction whenever the heroes demonstrate courage or determination. Another important element of the emotional connection comes from the theme of the hero. The story places its central character in situations where they must confront powerful opponents and dangerous circumstances. Even when the odds seem overwhelming, these characters continue to fight for the safety of others. This determination creates an emotional response because the audience often admire characters who demonstrate bravery and selflessness. Watching individuals standing up against numerous challenges can inspire viewers and encourage them to imagine how they might respond in similar situations. The story also resonates emotionally because it reflects the human fear of losing control over powerful forces. The presence of advanced technology and large-scale conflict create an atmosphere where ordinary people are confronted with extraordinary circumstances. Many viewers can relate to the feeling of being small or vulnerable when faced with events that seem beyond their control. By placing human character within a world dominated by powerful machines and large battles, the film allows audience to imagine how they might cope with such overwhelming situation. In addition to tension and heroism, the narrative include moments that explore trust and loyalty. These themes help strengthen the emotional connection between audience and the character. When character demonstrate loyalty, one of the audience being to see them as a united group facing common challenges. This sense of unity encourages viewer to care about the well-being of the entire team rather than focusing on a single individual. When loyalty is tested, the emotional impact becomes even stronger because it challenges the stability of the relationship that viewers have come to value. The emotional rhythm of the film also play an important role in shaping the viewer's experience. The story alternates between moments of intense action and quieter scenes that allow character to react to what is happening around them. This variation in pacing prevent the narrative from becoming emotionally overwhelming while still maintaining a sense of urgency. During calmer moments, viewers have the opportunity to reflect on the stake of the conflict and to connect more deeply with the motivation of the character. Another reason the story connect emotionally with viewer is the theme of perseverance. The character repeatedly placed in situations where success seems uncertain, yet they continue to move forward. This persistence reflects a universal human experience, the struggle to continue despite obstacle and setback. When audience watch character refuse to give up, they often feel encouraged by the idea that determination can overcome even the most difficult challenges. This visual scale of the story also contributes to its emotional impact. Large environment, dramatic confrontation, and the powerful imagery create a sense that the conflict is not limited to a single location or group. Instead, the event appear to affect the entire world. This global scale encourages viewers to see the story as something larger than individuals' survival. The emotional response becomes larger, stronger, because the audience feels that the outcome of the conflict will shape the future of many lives. At the same time, the story maintains emotional accessibility by focusing on the perspective of the individual who are caught in the middle of these enormous events. By showing how ordinary people react to extraordinary circumstances, the narrative creates a bridge between the audience and the larger science fiction elements. Viewers may not be able to relate directly to giant machines or interplanetary conflict because they can relate to fear, hope, determination, and loyalty. Ultimately, the emotional connection of the story comes from its ability to combine spectacle with universal theme. The mood of suspense keeps viewers engaged. The theme of courage and loyalty encourage emotional investment, and the viewer experience is shaped by the constant sense that the characters are fighting not only for victory but for survival and meaning. By blending large-scale action with recognizable emotional struggle, the narrative creates a viewing experience that is both exciting and emotionally engaging. When examining the characters in the film from a reviewer's perspective, it becomes clear that the story relies on a combination of recognizable archetype and distinctive personality traits to guide the audience through its large scale narrative. Because the movie focuses heavily on spectacle and action, the characters are designed to represent clear roles within the story rather than extremely complex psychological portraits. Still, each of the main characters contribute to the emotional and the thematic structure of the film. The primary human figure in the story serves as the audience viewpoint character, has a central human presence among powerful mechanical allies and enemies. This character represents the ordinary individual caught in extraordinary circumstances. The archetype here is the reluctant hero. This type of character does not begin as a confident warrior or leader but gradually become more involved as events unfold. The personality traits associated with this role include curiosity, persistence, and a strong sense of loyalty toward allies. From a reviewer standpoint, this character functions as the bridge between the audience and the large-scale action fiction world. By reacting to events with confusion, fear, and determination, the character reflects how most viewers might respond if they were placed in a similar situation. The emotional arc often involves moving from uncertainty toward responsibility, showing growth through experience rather than through natural authority. Another central character fits the archetype of the noble leader. This figure represents the moral core of the story and embodies themes such as honor, courage, and self sacrifice. Leaders of this type are usually calm, principled, and deeply committed to protecting others. This personality trait emphasizes integrity, discipline, and a sense of duty that goes beyond personal. In many ways, this archetype symbolizes the ideal form of leadership, someone who possesses power but chooses to use it responsibility. From a reviewer's perspective, this character provides the narratives with stability and direction, while other characters may struggle with doubt or conflicting motivations. The noble leader represents the values that the story ultimately supports. In contrast to the heroic leaders, the films also conclude characters who embody the archetype of the ambitious strategist or fallen hero. These characters introduce moral complexity to the narrative because they often justify their actions through logic or survival based reasoning. Instead of being motivated purely by destruction, they may believe that their choices are necessary to secure the future of their people. Personality traits associated with this archetype include allegiance, determination, and a willingness to pursue difficult solutions regardless of the consequence. From the analytical viewpoint, this character type highlight the tension between idealism and pragmatism. Their decisions may appear harsh or morally questionable. They often emerge from a belief that survival requires difficult compromises. Another important character role within the film is the royal companion. This archetype represents friendship, reliability, and emotional support within the story. Loyal companions often serve as protector or helper who remain committed to the main hero throughout the narrative. Their personality traits typically include bravery, enthusiasm, and a strong sense of loyalty. In many action-oriented stories, this type of character provides moments of emotional warmth and sometimes humor, helping balance the seriousness of the larger conflict. From a reviewer's perspective, loyal companion help humanize the story by showing that even within larger battles and global threats, personal relationships remain important. The narrative also features the antagonistic figures who represent the archetype of the power seeker or conqueror. These characters are defined by their desire to dominate or reshape the world according to their own vision. Their personality traits often include ambition, ruthlessness, or strategic thinking. Unlike purely chaotic villains, power seekers usually have clear objective and structured plan. Their presence intensifies the conflict by presenting a powerful opposition that challenges the heroes at both physical and ideological level. From a reviewer standpoint, such as characters are essential because they give the narrative stakes and momentum. Without a strong antagonist, the hero's journey will lack urgency. Another type of character that appear within the story's typical observer. This archetype often represent individuals who question the extraordinary events happening around them. Their role is to express doubt, curiosity, or caution as the situation involved. Personality trait may include intelligence, practicality, and hesitation when faced with unfamiliar circumstances. These characters often mirror the audience's own uncertainty and help ground the narrative in reality. Their presence also provide opportunity for the story to explain complex ideas or conflict through dialogue and interaction. From a reviewer's perspective, the structure in the film function less as deeply layered psychological portrait and more as symbolic representative of larger ideas. Each archetype contributes to the broader theme of leadership, loyalty, ambition, and cooperation. The noble leader reflects the ideal of responsible power. The reluctant hero represents personal growth, the ambitious strategist explore moral compromise, and the loyal companion emphasize trust and friendship. Ultimately, the effectiveness of the character lineup lies in how these archetypes interact with one another. The contrast between idealistic leadership and pragmatic ambition create tension, while the presence of sportive companion reinforces the emotional core of the story. Even though the narrative focuses heavily on large scale action and visual spectacle, these character roles help provide structure and maintain meaning to the conflict. Through their personalities and choice, the character illustrate the values and dilemmas that drive the story forward. The acting performance in the film play an important role in grounding the story's massive scale and intense action. While the movie is largely driven by visual spectacle and large battle, the actor help create emotional entry point for the audience. Their performances give the story a human perspective, allowing viewer to connect with the characters even when the narrative is surrounded by giant mechanical conflict and dramatic destruction. Through the work of the lead actor and the supporting cast, the film maintains a sense of personality and energy that support the overall viewing experience. The lead actor carries much of the emotional weight of the human storyline. His performance is built through the idea of an ordinary individual trying to find his place in a world that has suddenly become extraordinary and dangerous. One of the strengths of this performance is the sense of urgency and nervous energy that the actor brings to the role. The character often react to events with a mixture of determination, confusion, and frustration, which make the performance feels lively and relatable. The actor successfully convey the feeling of someone who is constantly caught between wanting a normal life and being pulled into situation far beyond his control. This emotional tension gives the character a sense of authenticity even when the story itself moves into highly fantastical territory. Another important aspect of the lead performance is the balance between humor and seriousness. The character frequently finds himself in stressful or chaotic situation, and the actor use quick dialogue delivery and expressive reaction to highlight the absurdity of these moments. This comedic energy help keep the film from becoming too heavy or overwhelming. At the same time, when the story shifts toward more dramatic moment, the actor is able to communicate genuine concern and determination. This balance allows the character to remain engaging throughout the film, providing a steady emotional anchor within the larger spectacle. The female lead brings a different kind of presence to the story. Her performance focuses on compare, confidence, and emotional support for the central character. While the role often places her within the action heavy environment of the narrative, the actress manages to create a character who feels calm and resilient even when events become chaotic. Her interaction with the lead actor helped establish a relationship that feel sportive and grounded. The emotional tone of her performance, often emphasizing encouragement and loyalty, which strengthen the sense that the human characters are facing the larger conflict together. The supporting cast add another layer of personality to the film. Several actors take on roles that provide both tension and comic relief. These presents help maintain a dynamic tone throughout the story by introducing moments of humor, eccentricity, or intensity. Supporting characters often react to the unfolding event with exaggerated surprise or disbelief, which mirror the audience's own reaction to the scale of what is happening. Their presence prevents the narrative from becoming too serious or mechanical, reminding viewers that human responses to extraordinary events can range from fear to humor. Sporting actors also bring authority and seriousness to the film's military and strategic element. These performances emphasize discipline, determination, and a sense of responsibility. The actor portraying this role often adopt a more controlled and focused style of acting, which contrasts with the nervous system of the lead characters. This contrast helps create a believable structure within the story where different actors respond to the crisis in different ways depending on their roles and personalities. One of the most important elements of the acting in the film is the chemistry between the cast members. The interaction between the lead actors and the supporting character help establish relationships that feel natural and spontaneous. Friendly arguments, shared frustration, and moment of cooperation give the character a sense of connection. Even though the story involves large-scale conflict or complex technology, these interpersonal exchanges remind the audience that the emotional core of the narrative lies in human relationship. The chemistry between the human character and the larger world around them is also worth noting because much of the film's action involves digital character and that are added later. The actors must react to elements that are not physically present during filming. This requires imagination and commitment to the scene. The cast generally succeed in making their reaction feel convincing, which help maintain the illusion that the extraordinary events unfolding around them are real. Emotionally, the performance contribute to the film by providing contrast to the intense visual spectacle. While the action sequence deliver excitement and adrenaline, the actor create moment of personality and relatability. Their performance help viewers understand how individual might react when placed in the middle of a global conflict involving powerful forces. Overall, the acting performance in the film serve as an important emotional bridge between the audience and the larger story. The lead actor's energetic portray the sporting presence of the female lead and the varied personalities of the sporting cast all contribute to a viewing experience that feel lively and engaging. Even when with the movie dominated by massive action sequence and visual effect, the performance help ensure that the story retain a human dimension the audience can connect with emotionally. In a large-scale action film build science fiction spectre realism and character that became specifically important element for keeping the audience emotionally engaged. Even when the story includes extraordinary technology and massive conflict, viewers still look for believable reactions, recognizable human behavior, and character who grow through their experience. The film attempts to create this sense of realism by focusing on character development, emotional reaction, and the relationship between individuals who are placed in extreme circumstances. One of the primary ways realism appears in the story is through the development of the main human character. At the beginning, this character is not portrayed as a traditional hero with a confidence and clear purpose. Instead, he struggles with everyday concerns such as finding stability, proving his role, and understanding his place in a rapidly changing world. This struggle reflects real life anxieties that many viewers can relate to, especially younger audience who are trying to establish their identity and direction. As the narrative progresses, the character gradually become more involved in the larger conflict and begin to show greater determination and responsibility. This progression create a form of character development that feel grounded in personal growth rather than sudden transformation. The believability of the character is also strengthened by the way he reacts emotionally to the extraordinary event. happening around him. Instead of appearing fearless or perfectly composed, he often shows confusion, frustration, and anxiety. These reactions make the character feel more realistic because they mirror how most people might respond if they were suddenly confronted with overwhelming danger or responsibility. By allowing the character to express fear and uncertainty, the story avoids presenting him as an unrealistic hero who easily adopts to impossible situations. Another important aspect of realism involves the relationship between the character. The interaction between the central character and the people around him are often based on familiar emotional dynamics such as trust, disagreement, loyalty, and sport. Conservation between the characters sometimes reveal moments of doubt or tension, which add authenticity to their relationship. Instead of presenting perfect cooperation, the story occasionally show character arguing or questioning one another's decision. These moments reflect the reality that people facing stressful circumstances do not always agree on how to respond. The emotional range of the character also contribute to the film's sense of depth. While the narrative is primarily driven by action, the character display a variety of emotions through the story. These emotions include determination during moments of danger, relief, often surviving difficult situations, and moments of humor when character try to cope with stress. By presenting different emotional response rather than a single tone, the film allows viewer to express the event from multiple emotional perspectives. Another element of realism appear in how the story portray responsibility and leadership. Certain characters take on roles where their decisions influence the safety of others. In these moments, the narrative highlight the pressure associated with leadership. Characters who hold authority must weigh the consequence of their choices and consider how their actions affect the larger group. This focus on responsibility add depth to the character because they show the leadership involve uncertainty and moral consideration rather than simple confidence. At the same time, the film realism is balanced with demand of blockbuster storytelling because the narrative include large action sequence and fantastical element. The characters sometimes function more as symbolic representative of ideas such as deeply complex individuals. Some characters embody clear personality traits such as bravery, ambition, or loyalty rather than undergoing extensive psychological development. This approach allows the story to maintain fast pacing and dramatic momentum, even though it may limit the depth of certain character arcs. Despite this limitation, the film still attempts to create emotional credibility through the reaction of its characters. When individuals face danger or loss, their response often highlight feeling of fear, urgency, and determination. These emotional response help the audience understand the stake of the conflict. The character may not always receive extended moment of interception, but their action reveal how strongly they care about protecting others or achieving their goal. Another factor that contributes to believability is the presence of ordinary concern with an extraordinary setting. Even while dealing with large scale threat, character still worrying about relationship, trust, and personal identity. These smaller concerns provide a contrast to the enormous battles taking place around them. By including these moments, the film remind viewers that human emotions remain relevant even in the middle of dramatic and unusual circumstances. The emotional range of the character is particularly important in maintaining audience engagement. Viewers are more likely to connect with the story when they see character experience emotion that feel genuine. When characters show fear, courage, frustration, or relief, the audience can imagine themselves reacting in similar way. This emotional recognition create a bridge between the viewer's everyday experience and extraordinary event depicted in the film. Ultimately, the realism and the depth of the charactering come from the combination of relatable motivations, emotional reaction, and gradual development. Even though the films operate with a highly stylized science fiction environment, it attempts to anchor the narrative in recognizable human experience. By portraying characters who struggle with uncertainty, responsibility, and personal growth, the story maintains a level of believability that allows audience to remain emotionally invested despite the fantastical nature of the world around them. The production budget of the film reflects the scale and the ambition typically associated with large Hollywood blockbuster films. Report from industry source place the film production cost at approximately $190 million to $200 million, positioning it among the more expensive film produced in the early 2010s. This level of financial investment was expected to the movie belong to a highly successful franchise and require extensive visual effect large scale portion in these expectations and the realities are very difficult for them. This level of financial investment was expected because the movie belonged to a highly successful franchise and required extensive visual effects, large scale action sequence, and complex filming logistics. In blockbuster film making, budget in this range are usually allocated toward technical aspect and international marketing potential and the expectation of strong global box office return. A large portion of the budget was dedicated to visual effects and computer generated imagery. The story involved numerous mechanical characters with integrated design and transformation sequence which required advanced digital animation and rendering. Each robotic character contained thousands of moving parts. Animating these components realistically demands significant computed power and skilled visual effect artists. Production team spent a considerable amount of time refining these digital models and integrating them with live action footage. This progress is expensive because it involves multiple stages of development include design, motion stimulation, lighting and final rendering. Another major area of resource allocation was large-scale action production. The film features extended battle scenes and urban environment where major conflict take place. To create these scenes convincingly, filmmaker combined digital effect with practical filmmaking technique. Practical effects include control explosion, stunt coordination, vehicle crashes, and large set construction. These elements require careful planning, specialized safety team, and large technical crews. Coordinating such sequences often involve closing street, using cranes and helicopters for aerial shots, and employing large number of extras and stunt performers. All of these actors contribute to the overall cost of the production. The film also invested heavily in advanced camera technology and cinematography. Certain scenes were captured using IMS camera, which provide higher resolution imaging and a more immersive viewing experience when projected in large format theater. However, IMX camera more expensive to operate than standard film cameras. They require specialized handling, additional lighting consideration, and careful planning during filming. Choosing to use this technology increased production cost but also enhanced the visual quality of the final product, particularly for action heavy sequence. Another component of the production budget involved cast and crew salaries. Although the film relies heavily on digital character, the human cast still play an important role in the narrative. Lead actors, supporting performance, and experienced production staff all receive compensation that reflect their experience and involvement. In addition to actors, the production employ hundreds of professionals including camera operator, editor, costume designer, production designer, sound engineer, and visual effects supervisor. The coordination of such a large team across months of filming and post-production represent a significant financial commitment. When comparing the film budget to other production released around the same time, it fall within a similar range to major franchise movies. For example, large superhero and fantasy film of the nearly 2010s often had production budget between $150 million and $250 million. Movie in this category rely heavily on visual effects and action sequence, which naturally increase cost. The previous installment in the Transformer series also had large budget indicated that the franchise consistently requires substantial financial investment to maintain its visual style and scale. In blockbuster filmmaking, the production budget is only one part of the overall financial picture. Marketing and global promotion can add tens of millions of dollars to the total cost of releasing a film. However, studios often view these expenses as necessary because wide international release can generate significant revenue. High budget films typically rely on global audience merchandise, stints, and home media sales to recover their investment. The production budget of the film illustrates how large-scale science fiction action film requires substantial financial resource. The cost reflects the complexity of the visual effect, the logistical demand of large action scenes, the use of advanced filming technology, and the coordination of extensive production team. Within the context of blockbuster cinema during its time, the film budget aligned with industry standards for franchise in movies that aim to deliver high level of spectacle and global entertainment appeal. The domestic box office performance of the film provide a useful example of how large franchise film perform within the North America market in the United States and the Canada, which together make up the primary domestic region for Hollywood released the film on approximately $352 million during its theatrical run. This figure places it among the top performing films released in 2010 within the domestic market and demonstrated the continued strength of the Transformer brand among North America audience. The film's domestic success can partially explained by momentum created by the earlier installment in the series. By the time the third movie was released, audience was already familiar with the franchise style of the large action scale, advanced visual effect, and dramatic robot battle. This familiarity created strong anticipation before the film release. Viewers who had seen the previous movies were likely to return to theater to continue following the story, and this built-in audience helped drawing store opening weekend number. Audience trend in North America during the early 2010 also favored blockbuster action film. Moviegoers were increasingly drawn to large spectacle-driven production that offer immersive experience on big theater screen. Films featuring extensive visual effects, dramatic battle, and large-scale destruction often perform well because they provided an experience that felt different from watching content at home. The film fit perfectly into this trend, often intense action sequence and visually complex scenes designed for large format screen and surround sound system. And other factor influencing domestic performances was the film release time. The movie debuted during the summer blockbuster season, which is traditionally one of the most profitable period for the film industry. During this time, schools are on break, audience have more leisure time, and the studios often release their biggest film to maximize audience. Summer release tend to attract families, teenagers, and groups of friends looking for entertainment, all of which align with the target audience. For large action franchise, the film domestic box office result also reflects strong attendance among young viewers. Teenagers and young adults have historically been a key demographic for action and science fiction film. This group tend to respond well to fast-paced storytelling, spectacular visual effect, recognizable franchise character. Because the movie featured all of these elements, it benefited from repeat viewing among enthusiastic fans and strong turnout during its early week in theaters. When compared to other films released in the same year, the movie domestic earning placing among the higher performing titles, though not necessarily the absolute top. Certain films with broader family appeal or unique culture impact sometimes outperform action franchise domestically. However, the movie performance remained impressive, particularly when considering the competitive nature of the summer movie season. Comparing the film to the earlier entries in the same franchise provide additional context. The first Transformer movie achieved strong domestic earning and introduced the cinematic universe to a wide audience. The second installment also performed well but received more mixed reaction from critics and some viewers. By the time the third film arrived, there was significant interest in seeing whether the series would regain momentum. The strong domestic box office result suggests that many viewers were still enthusiastic about the franchise and willing to return to theater for another installment. Another point of comparison comes from other action and science fiction films released around the same time. Many large-scale productions during the era aim for domestic totals in the range of $200 million to $300 million. Crossing the $300 million mark in North America is generally considered a sign of strong audience engagement and wide appeal. With domestic earnings above $350 million, the film clearly surpassed this benchmark. While domestic box office numbers are important for measuring a film's success within North America, they represent only the part of the overall financial picture. Large franchise movies often earn a significant portion of their revenues from international marketing. In the case of this film, global audience contributed heavily to its total earning, making the worldwide performance even more impressive. The domestic box office performance demonstrated that the film successfully captured the attentions of North America audience. Strong franchise recognition, favorable audience trend for action spectacles, and a strategic summer release all contribute to its financial success. The movie earnings in the United States and the Canada show how established franchise can continue to attract large audience when they deliver the kind of cinematic spectacle viewers expect from blockbuster entertainment. The international box office performance of the film was a major factor in the film's overall financial success outside the United States and Canada. The movie earned approximately $770 million, bringing its worldwide total to more than $1.1 billion. These figures demonstrate how important international markets have become for large-scale Hollywood productions, especially for action-driven franchises that rely heavily on visual spectacle. In this case, the film global reach significantly exceeded its domestic earnings, highlighted the strong appeal to the franchise across multiple regions. One of the key regions contributed to the international box office was Asia, particularly China. During the key 2010, China was rapidly emerging as one of the most influential film markets in the world. Large action films with strong visual effects often perform exceptionally well there because language barriers are less significant when storytelling relies heavily on action and visual storytelling. The film benefited from these trends, attracting large scale in Chinese theater and contributed a substantial portion of its international revenue. The scale of the action sequence and the immersive visual design of the robotic character resonated strongly with the audience in that market. Other part of Asia also play an important role in the film's international performance. Countries such as South Korea and Japan have long histories of enthusiasm for science fiction and robot-based entertainment. Culture familiarity with mechanical heroes and futuristic theme help the movie connect with audience in these regions because the franchise already have recognition through earlier films and merchandise. The third installment entered these markets with a strong level of audience awareness. Europe represented another significant region for the film. International earning major markets such as United Kingdom, Germany, France, and Russia contributed solid box office return. European audience have traditionally spotted large Hollywood franchise, particularly those that deliver high production values and large scale action. The film emphasis on spectacle and special effects allow it to appeal to viewers regardless of language difference, making it accessible to diverse audience across the continent. Latin America also contributed meaningful revenue to the film's international total. Countries such as Mexico and Brazil have growing movie-going population and strong interest in Hollywood blockbuster action film with recognizable global brand often perform well in these regions because they provide high energy entertainment and familiar franchise character. The film's release strategy ensure that it opened in many Latin America market close to its North America debut, allowing it to benefit global marketing momentum. Market reception internationally was influenced by the universal nature of the film's entertainment style because the movie focuses heavily on action, visual spectacle, and large-scale conflict. It can easily understood by audience regardless of culture background. Dialogue heavy drama sometimes face challenges when traveling between markets due to language and cultural differences. In contrast, visually driven action films tend to translate more easily because the excitement of explosion, chaos, chase scenes, and large battle can be appreciated without extensive explanation. Marketing also play an important role in shaping the film international performances. The promotional campaigns emphasize the scale of the action, the advanced visual effects, and the continuation of a popular franchise. Trailers and promotional materials often focus on dramatic imagery, large action sequence, highlighting the cinematic spectacle that audience could expect in theater. This strategy was particularly effective in international markets because it communicated the film appeal without relying heavily on dialect or localized culture references. Another factor that supported international success was the increasing popularity of large format screening such as IMAX. In many countries, theater promoted the film as a major cinematic event that could be experienced best on large screen. This positioning encouraged audience to review the movie as an exciting theatrical experience rather than simply another installment in a franchise. When compared with many other films released during the same period, the movie's international earnings were exceptionally strong, while the domestic box office result remain important. Global markets have become essential for blockbuster popular profitability. In this case, international audience counted for the majority of the film's revenue, demonstrating how global distribution strategies can dramatically influence financial outcome. The international box office performance show how effectively the film connected with audience across different regions. Strong reception in Asia, steady performance in Europe, and growing market in Latin America all contributed to the film's global success. Combined with the marketing strategy that emphasized visual spectacles and and franchise recognition. These factors allow the movie to become one of the highest earning international release of its time. The worldwide financial performance of the film demonstrate how modern blockbuster films rely on global audience and multiple revenue streams to achieve popularity. The movie earned approximately $1.12 billion worldwide, combining domestic box office earning in the United States and Canada with strong international performance across major markets. This level of global revenue placed the film among the highest grossing movies of its release year and confirmed the strong commercial appeal of the franchise. When analyzing worldwide gross, it is important to understand how international audiences contribute to a film total revenue. In the case of this film, the majority of earning came from the market outside North America. Pattern reflect a broader industry trend in which large action franchise often perform even better overseas than they do domestically. Global audiences are particularly drawn to films that emphasize visual spectacle, large scale action, and recognizable character because these elements rely less on language and cultural notes. They tend to travel well across different regions and attract viewers from a wide range of backgrounds. The concept of break-even is more complex than simply comparing the production budget with the worldwide gross. While the film production budget was estimated at roughly 190 to 200 million dollars, studios must also account for distribution expenses. Now, when a movie is released in cinema, the total box office revenue is split between theater and the studio. In many cases, theater keep around 40 to 50% of ticket sales, meaning that the studio receive only the part of the total box office earning. Marketing and promotional campaign also add significant cost. Global advertising efforts can involve television promotion, online campaigns, premium events and partnership with international distributor. For a blockbuster franchise, film marketing cost may reach $100 million or more. When these additional expenses are combined with the production budget, the total financial investment required to release the film can approach $300 million or higher. Because of these factors, the break-even point for larger blockbuster movies is usually estimated at two and a half time the production budget. Using this general guideline, a film with a production cost nearly $200 million might need to generate around $400 to $500 million in worldwide box office revenue to recover its combined production and marketing expense. Based on these calculations, Transformer Dark of the Moon surpasses break-even threshold comfortably due to its billion-dollar earning. Another important aspect of financial analysis involves revenue stream beyond theoretical box office scale although box office result receive the most attention, audience also earn income from home media sales, streaming right, television licensing and merchandise. The Transformer franchise in particular benefit from extensive merchandising opportunities including toys, collectibles and branded products. These additional revenue channels can significantly increase the total profitability of a film long after its theatrical run has ended. International distribution also play a major role in how revenue is collected and managed. In some markets, local distribution partners handle the release of the film and share profit with the studio according to the pre-arranged agreement. These arrangements can affect the percentage of revenue that return to the original producer. However, even with this complexity, a film that earns more than $1 billion worldwide typically generates substantial profit once our revenue streams are considered. Another factor supporting the film's strong financial performance was its positioning as a large-scale theatrical event. The use of premium formats such as large format screen and enhanced sound system allow theaters to charge higher ticket prices. Premium ticket sales can increase total box office earning without necessarily requiring a large number of viewers. For blockbuster action film, these premium experiences often attract audience in a more immersive viewing environment. Overall, the worldwide gross of the film illustrates the importance of global market and advertised revenue across in modern filmmaking. With strong international attendance, with high domestic earnings and additional income from merchandise and media distribution, the film significantly exceeds its break-even point. The financial outcome demonstrate how large franchise film can achieve profitability by appealing to audience across multiple regions and by leverage multiple form of revenue beyond the traditional box office. When evaluating whether a movie is financially successful, profitability is determined by comparing the total revenue generated by the film with the overall cost required to produce, market, and distribute it. This includes not only the production budget but also marketing expenses, distribution fee, and other operational costs. A movie may appear successful based on its box office number alone, but a deeper profitability analysis reveals whether it truly generates a return on investment. The first action to examine its revenue versus cost. The production budget represents the money spent on creating the film itself. These include payment for cast and crew, set construction, visual effects, filming, location, equipment, post-production work. However, the production budget alone does not represent the total financial investment. Marketing campaign, promotional tour, advertising, placement, and distribution logistics can significantly increase the total cost. In many cases, marketing expense may equal or even exceed half of the production budget. Because of the total financial threshold a film must reach to become profitable is usually much higher than the production cost alone. A commonly used industry rule suggests that a film generally need to earn roughly 2 to 2.5 times its production budget at the worldwide box office to break even. This is because movie theaters keep a significant portion of the ticket revenue, particularly in domestic market and in international territory. Studios typically receive only a percentage of ticket sale, which means that even a film with strong box office number may struggle to cover its total expenses if those numbers are not high enough. Beyond theoretical earning, ancillary income play a crucial role in determining long-term profitability. Modern film revenue stream extend well beyond ticket cinema. After the theatrical run, movie generate additional income through digital rental, streaming licenses, television broadcasting rights, play, physical media sales, and airline distribution. This secondary market can significantly boost the overall financial performance of a movie. Streaming platform in particularly have become an increasingly important revenue source. A film that perform moderately at the box office may still achieve strong profitability if it secure a lucrative streaming deals or perform well in home entertainment market. Merchandise, soundtracks, and international licensing agreement can also contribute to the financial ecosystem surrounding a film. Another important consideration is return on investment. Return on investment measures how efficiently the movie invested in the film generates profit. A blockbuster with a massive budget may earn hundreds of millions at the box office but still produce a modest ROI because of its enormous cost. On the other hand, a smaller film with a relatively modest budget may generate a very high ROI if it earns several times its production cost. Film with controlled budget often have advantage in this area when production costs are carefully managed. Even moderate box office performance can lead to the solid profitability. Conversely, films with extremely high budget face greater financial risk because they must achieve extraordinary box office success to cover their expenses. Marketing, time, and competition also influence profitability. A movie released during a crowded theatrical season may struggle to maintain long-term ticket sale if several high-profile competitors are released at the same time. However, a well-timed release can maximize audience attention and improve financial outcome. In the broader context of the film industry, profitability is not always measured solely by direct revenue. Studio may also consider strategic value, franchise potential, and a brand development. A film that introduces new character or expand an existing cinematic development Meta universe may be considered successful even if its immediate profit are moderate, especially if it set the stage for future installment. Ultimately, profitability analysis combine multiple financial elements: production spending, marketing, investment, box office performance, and long-term revenue stream. When these factors align effectively, a movie can generate substantial profit and reveal a strong return for studios, investors, and creative teams alike. Audience reaction play a significant role in shaping a movie reputation and long-term popularity. When critics often analyze film through technical or artistic perspective, general audience tend to respond more directly to the entertainment value, emotional impact, and overall viewing experience. By examining demographic, viewers' feedback, and engagement, we can better understand how a film connects with different group of viewers and how these reaction influences culture prism. One of the most important factors in influencing audience reaction is demographic. Different age group and viewing communities often respond to the film in unique way based on their interest, expectation, and familiarity within the genre. Younger viewer, for instance, often gravitate toward movies with fast-pacing, visually impressive scenes and exciting action or adventure element. These audience typically enjoy films that deliver spectacular, strong heroes and dynamic storytelling that maintain a high level of energy throughout the experience. Older viewers, on the other hand, may focus more on narrative depth, character development, and thematic complexity. They often appreciate stories that explore meaningful ideas or present emotional journey that feel authentic and relatable. Because of this difference, audience reaction can vary widely depending on whether the movie emphasizes visual excitement or deeper storytelling. Another important demographic group includes genre enthusiast fans who it is helpful to think about the audience type, genre preferences, and age group that will most appreciate its style and theme. Like many films, its appeal depends largely on what viewers expect from their cinematic experience. For audience who enjoy story-driven film with strong themes and emotional depth, this movie can be a rewarding watch. Viewers who appreciate thoughtful storytelling and character-focused narrative are likely to find the film engaging. The movie places noticeable emphasis on atmosphere, emotional tension, and thematic exploration, which make it resonate best with audience to enjoy reflecting on the idea presenting in a story rather than simply watching event unfold. Fan of the film genre will likely feel comfortable with its tone and storytelling style, especially if they appreciate narrative balance, entertainment with meaningful messages. The film is well suited for teenage and adult audience who are able to follow complex character motivation thematic layer. Older viewer may particularly enjoy how the movie explores emotional challenges, moral question, or personal growth within the narrative framework. The pacing and the tone often invite viewer to pay attention to character relationship, emotional moment, which can make the experience more immersive for mature audience. The movie may not be ideal for every viewer's audience who prefer fast-paced, purely action-driven entertainment may find part of the film slower or more effective than expected because the story invests time in mood, dialogue, and thematic development. Some viewers who are looking primarily for quick excitement or constant spectacle may feel that the pacing is less energetic than they prefer. Younger children may also find the movie less engaging if the themes are complex or emotionally intense, while the film may still be accessible to broad audiences. It tends to resonate more strongly with viewers who can appreciate its deeper ideas and characters' dynamic. Overall, the film is best recommended for viewers who enjoy genre film with emotional resonance, meaningful themes, and strong narrative atmosphere. For those audience, it can provide a thoughtful and memorable viewing experience.